What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin price chart. We're going to be talking about the altcoin market, more of like in a free flow fashion, as we're now at like the end of the month. It's the end of November. We're going to take a look over there at broader markets as we're about to get our monthly candle closes happening here in markets. And if you caught markets in the morning, there's a couple of really interesting monthly candles that are about to happen here. And of course, it's been really exciting over here for Bitcoin in October and in November after, most of the market participants got surprised when the breakout in October happened. November, we've still continued to chug on along here for Bitcoin. We closed out October at like 34,000. We're closing out November here very close to $38,000. And as the price of Bitcoin has continued to climb, we've talked about a lot of different things in here with Bitcoin, of the similarities of what it looks like to 2020. Probably getting sick of seeing this at this point because it's been over a month of really just kind of doing the same thing, just really kind of in that same kind of grind happening in here. But we've pointed to other things like how the price has behaved against like 2015 and 2016. Again, you've seen this 100 times at this point. But then, there's the scenario that we've also talked about for years where 38,000 is this big struggle zone for Bitcoin. If you look at Ethereum, when it did something very similar to this back in 2017 and 18, it's the same structure: crash, retrace, reaccumulation, full extension. Boom, all the way back down below the previous all-time high, off the 786 retracement level, right back up into the resistance, and off and away it went. That is what Bitcoin has done, right? It's pulled back to that 786 retracement level below the previous all-time high. We're back in that retracement level. We're back in that resistance zone. The big questions are like, all right, is that doomsday scenario up to bat right now? I've made YouTube videos about this. I've written newsletters about this and made Twitter posts over there for years talking all about getting back to that retrace level. Nobody has this on their bingo card. And I've been showing this and quoting videos that I've done from back in April of 2022, before Luna collapsed, before Celsius, all the drama, before FTX, showing this exact thing, right? And that here we are right now, right? So the question is it this? Is it like 2020? Is it 2016, right? There's so much complication on which one it is. And for the last year and a half, for me, it's always been like, hey, look, getting back to the retracement levels. Once we get back into retracement levels, the game becomes a whole lot more difficult. But when we're at the bottom, when everybody's screaming in fear and they're selling low to buy lower, it's easy for me to come on here and just be like, look, sellers are exhausted. Just like at tops, when everybody's greedy for 100K, that's usually a reversal. Just like bottoms, and everybody's greedy for 12K, that's going to be a reversal. And it's not until capitulation happens in there. And that can happen either way, right? Remember this? Everybody's screaming, just admit it's a bear market. Then they all capitulate back in to buy because they think we're going to 100K. Then they buy the whole way down, even they were like, nah, man, look, the December 5th or whatever it was, December 2nd, put out the video. It's a bear market. We're in a bear market for Bitcoin. No, you don't know anything. And then we get down here, everybody sells wanting to buy 12K, then they still want to buy 12K all throughout here. Now, of course, it's changing, right? So are they capitulated yet? I doubt it. I doubt everybody's capitulated, because you could see somebody could come out and just like throw out a huge bear post and it'll still get thousands of likes. So they still exist out there a little bit, not like they did, but there's still a little bit. I think any type of down, like it's one of those things where like they're a little nervous to come out and say anything because they'll get chastised by the community, because it'd be like, well, you've been wrong the whole time, right? Prices are up. So bears have to kind of like hide in their little corner here for a minute until price comes down, and then they come out. Just like we saw with, when Binance got the settlement done with the DOJ and CZ Binance is getting, whatever sentencings he's getting, right? Some of the bears came out during that time, right? Saying, see, told you, now we go to 12K. Boom, it flips right back up to 38K. But I don't think we've like reached euphoria or anything over here in Bitcoin, which is what you're usually going to end up seeing when a reversal does happen. Everybody's unwavering confidence that we're going to go significantly higher. But, the great debate, 2016, 2020, or ultimate doom city. Again, for the last year and a half, I've been about retracements. I've thought the 12K stuff has been silly. So I'm willing to say at this exact moment in time, it's a difficult read. But I'm actually willing, I'm willing to guess on which one I think is the most likely. And while I think all three of them are totally viable, I think it'll actually be none of them. Now, if something showed up on the charts differently, I'd be willing to say, okay, never mind. This seems to be it. But with where we're at exactly right now, at $37,700, I'm willing to say I think it's none of them. Or that 2016 has really the best shot, but more of kind of like a modified version of 2016. It's the one I actually cheer for too. It's the one that actually provides like a long-term better picture for Bitcoin. And it's actually a little secret I've kept in my back pocket that I haven't really talked about much publicly. That made it very easy to be bullish for the last year and a half, while retail investors were bears the whole time. And it really comes back to just like what reversal structures look like. Really, what we looked like from the very top of the market in here and what these reversals look like. If you remember this, if you were here during this time, you watched it, we pretty much cover this every day. You guys probably get sick of it. There becomes time periods we have to like review the same thing over and over and over again. In here, we did a lot of that, right? Because we recognized this was a very common reversal structure that was happening in here, and that Bitcoin was definitely acting like a bear in here because this is what bear price action does in moments like these, right? We had overlaid this here to show that this was the same price behavior for Bitcoin happening for some reason from the legitimate top. It was confusing at the time on why we would be getting that actually happening there from the actual top. But we did, and it was a very normal reversal structure. And what most people fail to realize is that we actually ended up doing the exact same structure here. This is the same reversal. The difference is you just have to look at it from the inverse perspective to see this is the same thing. It's the exact same reversal and a common reversal structure happening right there from the same spot, right? And so where you put yourself at currently right now is as if, you're beyond here. We just spent 7 months working this sucker out right in here. And now we just kind of got a breakdown happening in here. So it puts you like right there on where the market is at currently right now, right? So you just get one more break and then you just kind of chill out there for a little while. And then you go on for the last one to break down in there. What does this mean? So it would mean more of a structure that's kind of like this. It has one more push and then, garbage for quite some time. That would essentially mean that what do we end up doing? We end up going back into retracement levels, right? For Bitcoin, it goes back into the retraces. I don't know if we're going to get that high, but you get one more push into retraces, and then it's kind of a garbage year for the rest of the year, likely pulling back down to $30,000 to $32,000, essentially giving like that one last push. And so what happens when we get to one more push happening, or invert it back, one more push happening? That's the extreme end, right? That's where all of retail capitulates on being bearish, right? They all pull themselves in on being bullish. And we see a bunch of euphoria and a bunch of excitement happening in the market. And everybody's a bull, everybody's a winner, everybody's a genius, everybody's euphoric, everybody's in the green. All DCAers will be in the green, unless if you're like the guy who bought 65K and then never bought ever again. So everybody will be euphoric and excited and happy. When everybody's in the green, what do? They get risky. They've got profits. They're willing to throw them around, toss them around, act like fools. And that's usually when we see a lot of big moves happening over there in the altcoin market. And I do believe we're working on sign of strength, an accumulation schematic, a Wyckoff accumulation schematic that's going to head back up into higher levels. But then eventually, yuck. Probably a rough ride. And I think we actually see the confluence of this over there in Bitcoin structure in here, that there's like one more big push to come in the market, and then things just get ugly for about a year. That would also have confluence for exactly how these things happen, that we've had a big old crashing structure happen in here. I've talked about that a lot over here in the altcoin market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls back up to wave 4 within wave 5. And then we go on for 7, right? So 6 and 7, and then you have a 1, 2, 3 ending. Then you have the ABC breakout, and then you go all the way up in here. And then you crash back down to the supports, right? So it's like we go all the way back up into those retracement levels really high, and then crash back down into the supports. And like an example of that would be this, right? So this is XRP. This is the crashing structure. Here's your ABC. Here's your torturous long period of getting out of there. Here you go. You work way up. You're working on sign of strength. And then you go for a big, fat, explosive move that really takes you all the way back up there, like we're talking about over here for the altcoin market. Then lights out. It pulls all the way back down, right? And this isn't a baby move over here, right? This is very aggressive. This is 55% back to the downside, back to back test those support levels of those breakouts, right? Holds those daily candle closes on there But that's kind of what I imagine over here. We said 55% over there for XRP, right? That's the same kind of move we're talking about right in here. A big, aggressive, euphoric move happening in here right now, probably mixed with euphoria over there in the stock market at the exact same time, which we'll touch on here in a second, but also with euphoria of one more move over there for Bitcoin, as there's one more leg left in this thing to get into the retracement levels and see a big move happen in the altcoin market. The big question, of course, comes in, hey, is who's going to be the winners, who's going to be the losers? Are some coins going to go into brand new all-time highs, or some only going to go into retraces right now? I don't have that answer, but it definitely tells me we get into those retraces for me, and how I'm going to be communicating on this YouTube channel is if we do get this, the crowd will be wild. The crowd will be euphoric. The crowd will be excited. They will have all capitulated back into the market. No bear will be allowed to not be humiliated and chastised, as the crowd will know, you never knew anything. We were always bull. But that's always what happens when you get back into retracement levels and then the crowd finally comes back in. And so I think this is probably the most likely thing that I see currently right now in the market, is that I still believe we're actually going to end up just having a retrace happen for now, at least. The big question will end up being, well, what do we do after that, right? Do we have another retracement back down to the downside, and then can we recover from there? And I think that the big thing I'll be watching for in a pullback afterwards is going to be that big question of, can Bitcoin hold on top of supports like it always does in every recovery? And I think we'll pull back down to $30,000 to $32,000. And that'll be the big moment of, will Bitcoin hold this? And if Bitcoin does hold it, then I'll jump into the camp of thinking Bitcoin is starting a whole new super cycle. Let's go. But I think with that retest of that level, which if you don't think it's going to retest $31,000 to $32,000, you're kind of going against the grain of everything of what has ever happened. Like, it just says we will. Like, every recovery has always done that. And it would be very consistent with something like this happening over there in the altcoin market. So I definitely am still in the camp that an exciting moment is coming for this market. And I think some coins will probably have significant winning. Some will probably underperform and be disappointing, because that's just what we see happen in this market. The animal spirits flock in certain ways. And I, of course, have been spending a tremendous amount of time trying to solve that puzzle of which ones end up getting the most juiced. I've put countless hours into it. I've traveled to Austin, Texas. I've tried to do my best to understand what happened in 2021. We've talked about developer data. We've talked about percentage drawdowns. I just put out a newsletter today talking about the inflationary rate of altcoins and that impact on their returns. This one's got a 28-minute audio recording to go with it too, if you want to hear the silky smooth blockchain backer voice narrate it to you. But all of these factors seem to have mattered. Development data, inflationary rates, percentage drawdowns on how big the recovery was that they could have. While, of course, we would all like to scream and holler and say, give us the biggest alt season of our lives right now, this scenario doesn't give us that, right? This scenario gives us a big retrace. It gives us euphoria. It gives us excitement. It gives us probably hundreds of % gains on lots of different stuff. But it doesn't send you into a super mega bull run for the whole market right now. I'm willing to be wrong on that. I'm willing for the market to go absolutely, completely nuts and crazy. But I also have to kind of prepare for this, right? That if I'm right, if my whole theory that I've always had is that we go into a retracement and either the altcoins go absolutely ballistic or either they don't, at that moment, it's going to be a defense moment for me at that point of removing capital out of the markets. I'm going to do that regardless of where things get to. If assets hit like 4.236 extensions early, boom, I'll pull it out. If everything's coming up short, but we've got the altcoin market caps back into like 618 or 702 retracements, boom, that just is what it is. That's what the market's going to do. I can't control it. I'm pulling. But I think one of the hardest things we've been watching in here is trying to figure out, well, what's the structure of this going to be? Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be like 2020? And I think there could be some curveballs that come with it that I'm not willing to like let myself get panicked about. The first thing I would say, if we see a move like this over here in Bitcoin and we go down into like the 34,000s, that would be my first signal to me that I would say, I don't think we're doing what we did in 2020, where we just go shooting straight up to the highs and everything is euphoric and majestic at that moment. merely losing all of those higher lows and going down into the 34s, I'd go ahead and wipe that off. But the question is, if we do that, does that automatically mean we're doing 2016 right now and we're shifting our way back down to the lows? And the point of this is to say, I don't think it really says that is the case either. I think it could be trickery in that it actually does get up there into those retracement levels, potentially the ETF, right? All those guys are saying the ETF is the most bullish thing in the world. No way. That's a sell the news event for me, especially if we do it right back into retracement levels. And we also do know that the 702 retracement level for Bitcoin resides on its market cap exactly at $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. And that's crazy, right? The $1 trillion price point for Bitcoin is the 702 Fibonacci retracement level on its market cap. For the price chart, it puts it at like $51.5, $52,000. But I think it's very possible we see some trickery like this. And it's a difficult thing right now, of course, because everybody's sitting here waiting. We're all watching this thing just go in this slow grind. It's like, well, here's this scenario, here's that scenario, here's this, that, and this. And like, it just keeps grinding. And I'm willing to like have all of my different invalidations and saying, well, I don't think it's doing this one. I don't think it's doing that one. I don't think it's doing this one. But as of right now, while we just continue that grind, how do you eliminate any of them, right? How do you eliminate that? How do you eliminate 2020, right? And there would have to be specific things that occur because all of these, right where it's at right now, all four of them could be valid. And we just need simple moves. We just need simple breaks. A simple break to the downside, well, immediately we say, all right, 2020 is out the window. Just a removal of higher highs and higher lows. Boom. A continued break to the upside, getting through $38,000 to $40,000 and just chugging along. We say, oh, well, it looks like that whole Ethereum doomtown scenario. Boom, that looks like it's out the window. And then, if we break down and then just keep going and we get back to 31.5, right? It's like, okay, well, it looks like we're going to be here a long time. There's a lot of simple things that could happen on this chart to say which one is going to be the one that ends up playing out. But while you sit in here waiting, you just don't have anything giving you a clue to say which one could it be. And it's kind of like waiting for saying, hey, look, like these are my invalidation levels or these are my validation levels. And if these particular things happen from here, this is the direction I'm going to lean pretty quickly and which one I'm going to eliminate. But if I had to make my absolute best guess on what I think is going to happen in this market, I think that's likely the most likely thing to happen in here. We invalidate 2020. We then go on to the retracement levels. You then see the altcoin market absolutely explode. You see some altcoins be big winners. You see some absolutely sad and pathetic. We see the absolute euphoria of the market, and then it all comes tumbling right back down. And there's a potential it all happens with the United States stock market, which is right on the verge of having a monthly candle close in 30 minutes from me recording right now. I'll have to edit this thing and change it all if it doesn't close this way. But we're going to have the highest close here for the Dow Jones Industrial Average dating back to December of 2021, right? We've shown the roaring 20s, the Great Depression. What does it do? It just gets up there to the 4.236 extension and then lights out happens after that. And I could imagine something like that happening in there and that we end up having boom, right? And then the big $1 million question for crypto at that moment in time would be, can the support hold? Can Bitcoin support hold? And if they can, and if they can't break through these things and go tumbling down to the downside, then it opens up this door of like, maybe we are starting a whole new cycle for crypto. Again, I've always been that advocate of we're only getting a retrace, right? I still think we're only getting a retrace for the market caps and for Bitcoin. And then I think we're going to get a really, really big crash. But then the question is, will it hold? And if it holds, 2024 probably be another consolidation year, just like Bitcoin does. It tends to consolidate much longer when it's in these recoveries. And like to give you like a cleaner example rather than using Bitfinex, we'll go back in here using Bitstamps. And I'll show you this, that we know this is where we are. We're this deep into this thing. We've just now stepped out of the next range, right? But even if you stepped out of this range, right, started from here, where does it take you to? Well, it gets you way up here. What is that? $53,000. Then what happens? A big crash back down to 31, like we're talking about right in here. That's not out of line. That's not crazy. It comes with a majestic moment in time of euphoria. That's very quick. I mean, you can look here, right? That's like, if that kicks in, that could happen in a week. You could have something like that happen in a week. This whole insanity right here, this is 3 days, right? 3 days. boom, right? I don't think it's going to be that quick, but just kind of understanding, right? It still retraces. It still retraces. There's going to be winners. There's going to be losers. I think there's confluence there for Bitcoin to get that retracement. I think the structure of how it gets there, I think we're all looking to 2020, and there's no question it looks like 2020 happening in here. But I just wouldn't be surprised as well if there is some move like this right in here showing it's not 2020 and then rams up and then back down. And that would have confluence with an event like this happening in here, and then followed by a crummy 2024 where it's just really tightening itself up. It's consolidating for then something bigger to come potentially in 2025. So it's optimistic for a moment like that to come right now, because this is crazy, right? This is crazy to see the Dow Jones Industrial Average going and taking out the height setback over there in August. Again, I still think this is totally distribution over here on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This is the exact same type of distribution we saw in the cryptocurrency market in 2021. This is just stretching out over years of distribution. I think that's what's happening in here. But it doesn't mean it can't lead to a whole lot of excitement in the market. But when excitement comes, it's the same thing every time. The bulls get very cocky. They chastise bears. They become greedy, and they become irresponsible, reckless, and risky. So things you can usually look for is meme coins, right? If we start seeing new meme coins coming out, people throwing money around like absolute nonsense, that's typically the sign we have reached max riskiness, max recklessness, and irresponsibility. And I don't think we're there yet. I still think this thing's going to break out and go, but just being prepared, like that phase, like the reason I even have to make this video in the first place is because I genuinely believe there's going to be like this crazy exciting moment that happens relatively quickly whenever it does, right? It could take another month for that moment to happen. But I know that those moves can come in an explosive fashion, and that when it does, if it does, I'm going to like pretty dang quickly be like, okay, I'm selling stuff, right? And it'll catch a lot of people by surprise because they're going to be like, wait a minute, this thing just started. Why would you be selling anything? We just started. And it's like, it didn't just start. It's been a year and a half of telling you this is what's happening. We're now just reaching max euphoria. So I don't know. This is kind of more of like a ramble at the end of the month video, but I just wanted to kind of show you the things that are going through my head. And nothing has changed with my thoughts on us going into retracements, but I thought I would just kind of ramble about my thoughts on it for some time here. No structure really, but just kind of talk, I guess, about the psychology of it, my thoughts. Like I know when we get there, it'll become one of the, like, right, what did we just spend all this time doing? Pretty much telling the 12Kers they were nuts, right? You're crazy. It's not going to happen. You want 23K? You want 23K? It's not going to happen. You're crazy. But having been in this space and making YouTube content for a very long time, the same thing happens at tops. If I say I'm buying at bottoms, they say you're nuts, you're wrong. If you're selling at tops, they say you're nuts and you're wrong too. And we would approach that phase. So I'm kind of just like preparing the world to say, hey, look, I'm going to tell you when I'm doing it. I'm going to verbally say it, and I will get pushback. And I'm just letting you know, letting you be prepared for it. A lot of people are going to be super emotional, right? It's just what they are. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure you know what you're doing? No, of course not. I'm trying to play the odds here. I'm making my best educated guess. So far, my educated guess has been correct. The thing is, I think we're also going to struggle in retracement levels, and I'm going to take some risk off the table because I think we're going to fall all the way back down afterwards. But then I think we're going to have some fun. I think we're going to consolidate. There'll be some stuff that like shoots off during a moment like that, some stuff that's just sad and pathetic. And I think, I'm spending all this time really researching this stuff, trying to figure out these inflation rates, these dev data, these percentage drawdowns, because I think this stuff is important, and I just don't think there's going to be a tremendous amount of time to make a decision on it. There is data you can get educated on. And a lot of the stuff I've just given to you for free. I had sentiment on Friday. I showed you all that stuff. I've told you that percentage drawdowns matter. The shallower a drawdown is, the more likely it is to go off into new all-time highs. And inflation, like we all know it. Don't go after stuff that's really high in inflation. But I think the thing that will surprise you is that the whole Bitcoin narrative of the halving and going down to a 0.875 inflation rate, and that's going to be the thing that sends it off into a bull run. The data doesn't say that that is actually that important, that that type of inflation rate is that important. And there's actually sweet spots of inflation. I think a lot of these coins know what they're doing with their inflation levels. Some of them, I think they have no clue. If you have 40% inflation, 50% inflation, you are absolutely devastating your project. You're devastating your coin. You're diluting your market cap and you're crushing people who own the coin. But you don't have to have a negative deflationary rate. You don't have to have 2%, 1%. You don't have to. There's very nice sweet spots in there. And it's just important to do that research, understand that, and have a couple of things to go after. So I'm prepared, man. I'm ready to have some fun. I think we're going to go into this hopefully we go into the end of this year and it's just kind of absolutely a madhouse here at the end of the year as we go into December. And let me comment on these squigglies too really quick, okay? I don't know how long that will take. I don't know if it would look more like, hey, we just go straight up, straight down, we wobble here and there, and then we're out in just a few months, weeks, whatever. This is just what your structure typically looks like. It's what like we talk about a lot, like a contracting triangle, where you have a crash, retrace, reaccumulation that happens in here. That's my thoughts of what I'll be looking for a big pullback is a crash, retrace, reaccumulation, but I do have absolutely no clue how long the time frame would be. I know I said, hey, crummy 2024, maybe it's only 3 months. I don't know. We'll have to see it when it kind of starts to play out, if it does end up playing out. But like on things like XRP and structures, when we see this is usually that level where you can measure a 4.236 extension from in here and then go on and try to get into those zones, because that's what ends up happening in here, right? Crashing structure breaks out, violently backtests back to the breakout level, then does the typical 702 Fibonacci retracement, right? Crash, retrace, reaccumulation, boom, off and away it goes. And that would be a pretty big move. And that's typically what happens after the crashing structure, just like this. It's that we break from it, back into retracement levels, build a contracting triangle in here, and then fib extension it. And so that's what I'm looking for. The time frame of how long that would take, that I don't know. But these are my thoughts. I'll get all of that off the screen and well, all right, that's it. A super ridiculously long ramble video that pretty much is telling you I'm excited about the market. I think we're going to have some crazy YOLO fun here, but I know how this market works. Crashes always come after the YOLO fun. They come after the euphoria. And what happens with most people is they do believe this time is different when we're in the middle of it. But I won't do that. I'll keep the level head. I'll communicate my level-headedness here on the YouTube channel, and might have some good times coming pretty soon. So, all right, that's going to be it. Check out my Substack over here, blockchainbacker.substack.com. New newsletter posted today, 28-minute audio recording, deep diving into the altcoin market and the inflationary rates of altcoins and their circulating supply and how that impacted price performance in the 2021 bull run. Then also providing the entire list of the inflationary rates of the top 100 coins right now. Check out bcbacker.com for 40 plus videos over 11 hours of content where I deep dive into the historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market and teach you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro, along with a lot of the indicators, Wyckoff accumulation, Elliott wave theory, and your own downloadable PDF guide in there to help you with a lot of the stuff if you want to print it out or save it over there on your computer. It's $39 one time, no subscriptions over here on bcbacker.com. The newsletter, of course, is a subscription. You can find links to bcbacker.com and to my Substack, blockchainbacker.substack.com, down here in the description of this video and each of my videos and live streams. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We've reached the end of November. It's like almost like I'm saying goodbye to this time of year because I absolutely love December. I absolutely love the holidays. And tomorrow we usher in the holiday season. For me, that's Christmas, baby. So I hope that you guys are having a great day. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.